Welcome back. Welcome back. It's your boy, Mike. And as you see, a decision has been made. Kyler Murray shipping off to the Minnesota Vikings, who have lost Kirk Cousins to free agency this season, which is probably the only reason that Arizona was able to get as much as they were. Lewis Cine, first round pick just a couple years back, as well as their first round pick this year that will end up being 19th overall. And the Vikings receive Kyler Murray, Sean Ryan, Keontae Ingram, a third in 2026, as well as a fourth, and then a fourth in this year's draft as well. A new page turn here in Arizona, and it was a long time coming. Missed the whole season. Josh Dobbs able to take the pieces that they had to 11-6 and a playoff win. And the Kyler Murray era is over in Arizona. But, hey, look, before we get into this video, really, I just want to, it is going to be a pretty long video, first off season that I've done. And, I wanted to go really in depth. In the future, I will, do my best to kind of cut it down a little bit, give you really the most important points. But let's take a look at the team a little bit as before we dive into free agency. Josh Dobbs and DT are the only quarterbacks currently on the roster. Ty Davis Price and Tariq Cohen at running back. Xander Horvath, fullback. Rondell Moore, Rashad Bateman, Zach Pascal, Michael Wilson in there at receiver. McBride and Elijah Higgins at tight end. DJ Humphries, Netani Moody, John Gaines coming back from injury. Holt Frillholt, Will Hernandez, and Paris Johnson on the offensive line. Dante Stills in the interior along with Lecky Fotu. That is it right there. Cameron Thomas, Zabin Collins, Kaiser White, and Owen Popo at linebacker, along with BJ Ojolari, Majay Sanders, and Dennis Gardeck, who we will look to move, under contract for the next couple of years. Didn't find anything to work with, so we're just going to eat the couple $1 million and go ahead and release Gardeck. Just, no future on this team. Not really a good player now at 30 years old, and he is no longer with the team. Jalen Johnson, Greedy, Garrett Williams, McQuamu, Ketro Clark, and Rajon Wright again. Definitely going to, probably look to go ahead and upgrade there. Marco Wilson there at strong safety. We will move Lewis Cine over to strong safety, and we're going to move Marco Wilson back to free safety. Cine is more of a hitter than a coverage guy at the moment. And so, we like his ability to, kind of play and run support more than we do Wilson, who did, hold down that strong safety spot over the second half of the season last year. Matt Prater at kicker, 40 years old now, kicker of the year, and Nolan Cooney we did let go. We will have the number 119 and 17 picks in this year's first round. So a lot of ammunition to work with, reminiscent of the Raiders a few years back when they drafted Farrell, Abram, and who was the third person? Was it Ruggs that year or was that Leatherwood? I'm not really sure. Let me know what it is. Again, I'm not 100% sure. But, let's go ahead and shift the conversation very quickly back to Kyler Murray. Now a Minnesota Viking, keeping that number 1 jersey, 79 overall, 27 years old. And, the Kyler Murray era, of course, drafted Josh Rosen number 10 overall, played one season with him. Didn't really like the direction that he was going, so they decided to pivot to Kyler with the number 1 overall pick. Had a really good season as a rookie, had a good season as a second-year player. Third year, did some. And then in season 4, of course, he went down with that injury. So he's now a Minnesota Viking. And, couple players to look at as far as potentially replacing Kyler. You got Kenny Sasser. You got Travis Garner here. Top 5 projected draft spot, but, only around 2 to 3 talent. So it'll be interesting to kind of see. Josh Garfield here, you see similar accuracies to Sasser, but he ran a 4.45. And, that's intriguing. We do have a bit of a run element with the quarterback. Dobbs had, a little over 250 yards, and, that's not game breaking or anything, but, definitely something to look at. Glenn Roberts here in the first round, 2 to 3 talent, ran a 4.5, great throw power. has a little bit less of accuracies as the first couple guys on the board. Ty Cook here, 4.97, maybe not the kind of guy we're going to be looking at. But those are a few guys there at the quarterback position. As we just kind of take a look through a few other positions, the receiver class doesn't really look too promising. Don't really see anything that we feel like would make us would be an amazing pick for us at this current point in time. I don't think that receiver is so pressing a need that we need to use a first round pick on it. We have Rashad Bateman coming back on his 5th-year option. We still have Rondale Moore in-house who, barring just significant decline next season, I don't imagine we wouldn't be looking to re-sign. Jalen Ford there, 6'6" out of LSU. Austin Smith, another LSU target, 6'8". How about that? 4'6", and that's not bad. He could be potentially utilized as a tight end, all things considered. But, a couple guys there. No wonder Glenn Roberts is so high up that board. You got a 6'6" and a 6'8" guy to throw to. A couple tight ends there look okay. Left tackle class, tackle is something that, we'd probably have to take a look at least a little bit, even if it's not amazingly dire at the moment. Humphreys, one more year left. He is going into a contract year, this year in year 2. And, of course, Paris Johnson on the right side, first round pick from a year ago. He's only a year into his career, so a couple of years of, kind of cost controlled right there. And Calvin McGee here, round 1 to 2 talent, round 1 projection. Looks pretty good. The injury does kind of scare me a little bit, but, that's nothing too crazy. Looking at left guards, a few guys that kind of stand out. Nick Mitchell looks like he's going to be pretty good, 22 years old. Great strength, put up 38 reps, second in all for all left guards. But see a couple of C's in there. No rookie is ever going to be perfect. You do have those generational guys, your Calvin Johnsons, your Justin Jeffersons, your Jamar Chases, who come out, immediately look great. But, very, very difficult. Quentin Nelson, since we're talking about the offensive line, but very difficult to come in and dominate as a rookie. Just the level of competition jumps drastically, when you talk about even the Georgias, the Ohio States, the Clemsons, all those kind of teams. It just really is a different, kind of ball game when you're talking about that into the NFL. A handful of guys will be NFL guys on any given team. Every guy on an NFL team is an NFL guy, So, taking a look at the defense a little bit, not a whole lot on the interior, as we were hoping. But Trevor Sidney is a guy that has been intriguing. Another LSU guy. Combine wasn't overly amazing, but B awareness, we would like to think that those finesse moves would be in a good spot considering he has, we don't quite know what his we don't quite know what they are going to be yet. Block shed only at a C. D tackle, a few guys there that, look decent. No one overly catching our eye. Juan Drummond, 23 out of Clemson, looks like he could be pretty good. Bench press was, not really something we like. A finesse moves, though, along with that B block shedding could be intriguing. Couple of guys, Michael Smith, who, our scout told us to keep an eye out for, now jumped to the top of that middle linebacker board. Ran a 4.5 at the combine. Not bad. B zone coverage, B block shed, decent speed. He could be somebody to keep an eye on. Cam Wilhelm here as well, looking decent. Only 21 years old, 4.49, only 18 reps, and he is small, 226. So, but A man coverage, A catching, the play recognition does scare me, D, and we don't know what the block shed is. So, maybe someone to take a flyer on a little later in the draft, but of course, not really going to be in consideration in that first round. Andrew Stinson looks pretty good. 4.41, and at 6'1", good size, good speed, A man, and we like to play a lot of man coverage there. He could be an option at some point as well. A few other corners in there that looked okay, but nothing crazy. We're not really in the market for a safety with Jalen Thompson and Lewis Seen, so we'll go ahead and skip that. But Man, it's time to go ahead and take a look at this free agency class. Time to take a look. And right off the bat, you'll notice it's not tremendously strong. Tyron Smith leading the way at 89 overall. Stephon Gilmore, Cowboys taking a hit there, 88 overall, along with Mike Williams. And then, Bobby Wagner, who's, getting up there in age and not a whole lot of talent. Definitely more so looking like a free agency that's going to be more so for kind of filling in secondary roles in a lot of spots. But looking at quarterbacks, Kirk Cousins, as we mentioned, a free agent, hence why Kyler Murray did get traded to Minnesota. And then you got Baker, Sam Darnold, no one that you're really going to want leading your offense game in and game out. Tyler Huntley and Mariota there as, potential backup options. But we don't really see anyone here that we think would significantly improve us. Tyler Huntley is interesting with his speed, but, not a major upgrade over Dobbs. Running back, also not a huge spot that we need to be worried about, but Tariq Cohen did regress quite a bit down to a 67 overall. We did give him a 2-year contract, not really expecting him to drop so significantly. And because of that, man, we're going to go ahead and take a look at a guy that has a similar skill set to Tariq Cohen. 91 speed. He has, obviously more size than Tariq. And, with the regression, he's definitely going to be a better option in that spot. We're going to go ahead and offer him a contract. Mike Williams, the top guy, not really in the market to pay a Mike Williams. We don't really think that that's going to push us at the moment where we really want to be. Donovan Peoples-Jones, you got Marquez Valdez-Scantling standing out along with DJ Chark as, tall speed guys, physical guys that can go up and get it, and have the speed. Chase Claypool, another guy in that conversation. KJ Hamler, of course, in real life stepped away for personal reasons, hoping the best for him, his family. But, not a whole lot of, there goes Brian Edwards, not a whole lot of guys that we think improve us significantly, but we like the size speed combination that Chase Claypool brings, and if you're being asked to be a fourth option in an offense, we're gonna go ahead and offer him $6 million, 2 years, $6 million. But if you're going to be the fourth option in an offense, you're not gonna have that necessarily need to kind of feel like you have to do more than you're capable of. But he has to remain locked in, and that's gonna be something that this coaching staff is gonna harp on him about. He is a talented kid. And at just 26 years old, he still has game left to contribute, to winning football. So we're going to go ahead and try to lure him in with an offer. Moving on into the offensive line, Jonah Williams, young guy, not amazing, but, as a depth piece or, a potential starter, a swing tackle type guy could be good. But at $9 million a year, not really sure how realistic that is. Damian Lewis is a good interior defender. But again, $11.5 million a year is very steep for someone who's going to come in and be just a slight upgrade on what we currently have. Norwell's old. Ezra Cleveland, just is not a good, run blocker. It's run or pass. There it is. I can't remember exactly which one it is, but enough to entice us away from him. Looking at the center position, some guys that look okay, but again, no one that we really feel like we need to pay. And, no one's going to change the outlook of the line or anything like that. John Runyon leaving the Packers. Cesar Ruiz. Now, that's an intriguing one, young, coming over from New Orleans, a first-round pick not too long ago. And he's not asking, to break the bank about $6.5 million a year. And, over 2 or 3 years, that's very doable. We are going to go ahead and offer him a contract. I think we're going to go ahead and bump up those years just a bit, make it a 3-year deal versus a 2-year deal. Going to up the salary pretty significantly as well as the bonus. And rather than that $6.5 million, we're going to go ahead and offer him $8 million. You see, he has no interest in coming to Arizona, but we think that he could be, we had questions at left guard, questions at center last season. And although I doubt he would come in and usurp Will Hernandez, could be a potential upgrade to the line for, and young star development, definitely something to keep an eye on. On the defensive side of the ball, again, we definitely want to buff up that interior pass rush. It was a weakness a season ago, even if, maybe I know we were a top 10 run defense, but all in all, we just got no push in the interior. You saw in the yearly stats, the interior of the offensive line had, what was it, six and a half sacks combined on the season. It was not pretty. Not pretty at all. Taking a look at all options, Michael Pierce would be intriguing if he was a couple years younger. And he's asking for a lot of money. Not really sure that that's in our future. You see guys like Sheldon Rankins asking for $7 million a year, and I just don't know how realistic that is. On the right side, just not a lot of guys that are kind of interior pushers. Trey Flowers, could be, maybe a veteran presence, but at 265, just not quite sure he'd be able to hold up over a full season in that kind of role. And, that's really more what we're looking for. Even, someone, AJ Epinesa, younger, again, just not going to be a realistic option in that space. But we are going to take a deeper look here at some of these ends. There were a few that intrigued us. Danico Autry, Chris Wormley. But we are going to take a look at Danico Autry. He wants a little over $8 million a year, and we're going to kind of underbid him a little bit. There was no one else bidding for his services. And again, someone that could come in and actually be very, very good while mentoring some of the younger players there, even as an interior guy, giving some notes to a BJ Ojolari, to a Cam Thomas. I think that could be very valuable for, the future development of the team. And, taking a look at some of these linebackers, not really in the market for a coverage guy severely. And even, as a pass rusher, we got Cam Thomas and Ojolari pretty much locked into those spots, you would think. And none of those guys are worth that kind of money in any capacity, if you were to ask us currently. Cleveland Farrell was another guy that looked pretty interesting, along with Tyquan Lewis. Jacob Martin toyed around with potentially giving him a contract, not to be an interior player, of course, at just 242, but to back up Cameron Thomas on the outside. And, we do still have Myjai Sanders here behind BJ Ojolari, but Cam Thomas is currently without a backup. So that could be something that would be pretty interesting. Leonard Floyd, of course, coming off a few really, really good seasons, playing opposite some elite pass rushers. Aaron Donald, now this year in real life with Buffalo, playing alongside, I know Von Miller's just coming back, but just playing on a very, very good defense overall. And James Houston here, very, very intriguing. We decided to completely leave our pursuit of Jacob Martin, or our potential pursuit, that is, with offering James Houston. Surprised that the Lions didn't offer him some kind of contract. And someone that I did not even remember, I remember seeing him looking initially. We used all of our negotiations for the day, was Jeremy Chin. And unfortunately, he did go to the Raiders after the first day of free agency. But after I thought a little bit more about it, I realized it wasn't really a huge, huge deal, because we did trade for Lewis Seen, and my plan was to kind of play him more as a safety, but that's not really necessary anymore. And I don't think he brings a whole lot more than Lewis Seen does at the safety spot, especially when you talk about giving him a second contract. And we did, from day one, go ahead and get pretty much everyone. Chase Claypool signed. We did go ahead and bring in Cesar Ruiz. Danico Autry was a holdout. He did not sign, but James Houston we went ahead and brought in, as well as Antonio Gibson. So a couple of guys going on day one. Stephon Gilmore still weighing some of his options. And, there wasn't really a whole lot more that we wanted to do. Didn't really think that we wanted to bring any of these guys in near the top, to fill in as full-time guys. I feel like for the cost and the age, just rocking with Israel Mukwamu for another season, if these were our options, would be just for the better. But one guy that we thought was interesting, C.J. Henderson, 25 years old, definitely hasn't panned out in any sense of the word, either with Jacksonville nor Carolina. Now a free agent, and at 25 years old, 74 overall, as a depth piece, as a fourth or fifth corner, definitely think there's some value in that, getting him in our room with, a Jalen Johnson, Greedy, he wasn't a first rounder, he was a second rounder, but someone that, wasn't really living up to that billing and found his way, could be an interesting kind of dynamic in the locker room. So went ahead and offered him a contract. Looking around at some of the safeties, again, we have Lewis Seen, we have Jalen Thompson, we still have Marquise Blair and Marco Wilson, but Jaron Kearse, we didn't really feel like we were in the market for a coverage linebacker with Kaiser White and with Zaven Collins, but with a Jaron Kearse, he can fill in a number of roles. He could play a little slot corner if the need ever arose. He could definitely play in the box as a 6'4", run support type of guy, and as well as fill in on this in the safety spot. And here at kicker, Matt Prater, of course, coming off a Kicker of the Year campaign, but Cameron Dicker is just 24 years old, and Matt Prater's not going to do anything but regress. I'd be shocked if he didn't retire after, this coming season in year 2. And with a kicker who has a leg like he does, like Cameron Dicker does, just a no-brainer, especially with no one offering on him. And with us also letting Nolan Cooney walk, thought that offering on Tommy Townsend would make a lot of sense. And here on day 2, we did get Townsend. We did also get Jaron Kearse. Cameron Dicker decides to join us, as well as C.J. Henderson. Danico Autry still holding out on us a little bit, hoping that he'll change his mind in the coming days. Definitely hoping someone doesn't jump us, because we're very comfortable with the number that we're at. Definitely have some cap space to burn, but don't want to necessarily pay him completely over what his kind of market would be. As you see Romeo Okwara and Michael Pierce both joining the LA Rams right there. Victor Dimukeje, who we let go, signing with the Chiefs. That's an interesting one, to say the least. Grant Delpit was another guy we were considering in that Jaron Kearse mold. Unfortunately, he also went day 1, so there was no we didn't even make it that far down to offer him before he decided to sign. And again, not a pressing need, so we weren't overly concerned about it. Just trying to go through and see what holes we had already filled, see what else we might try to do. Antonio Gibson, we thought, was a really good signing. I think he's going to be one of our better signings from this offseason, as just, a change of pace to Ty Davis Price. Davis Price, a good blend of, elusiveness and power, but Gibson, offers more in the run game. In the pass game. Gibson probably a little bit more shifty than Ty Davis Price, even at this point, with his progression with us up to so far. And now, just kind of looking through, seeing what else we might want to get done. Was looking to, with still not getting Danico Autry, and was looking to go ahead and offer on a couple more interior guys. Can't put all your eggs in one basket. It's been, 2 evaluations now, and he still has not decided to accept nor decline. And again, no one else has offered on him still, even up to this point. And, we just weren't seeing a whole lot, not really seeing much, but a few guys were standing out. Deshaun Hand, has good size, didn't really pan out with the Lions, but we think on a 1-year deal, just somewhat approve it, trying to see if he still has anything left to give to a team. Thought that would be a very interesting one. Tim Settle as well, played with Washington, played with, was it the Saints? I believe it might have been the Saints, or maybe that's Shy Tuttle that I'm thinking about. Shy Tuttle versus Tim Settle. But we think that he could be a good piece for this defense as well. Again, someone that can push the pocket a bit while also maintaining his run commitments. Folu Fatukasi, coming off a few seasons with the Jets. Just a big body. And again, trying to make sure we get this run defense a little better, we thought would be a good idea. Danico Autry and Deshaun Hand did not accept up to this point. Fatukasi in, Tim Settle in. And again, neither of those guys yet have any secondary offers. So, hoping for the best. We did decide to go ahead and up this offer on Deshaun Hand just a little bit. He very uninterested before, and again with no offers, better to offer him just a couple $100,000 more versus losing him completely, and that would see day one of free agency come to an end. On to day two, and ready to see if any of these guys are ready to go ahead and accept and become Arizona Cardinals. And so as we head into day two of free agency, we see a couple more deals getting done. We see Danico Autry, no Deshaun Hand, because Deshaun Hand has accepted the offer to come be an Arizona Cardinal. Glad to see that. And as we take a look at the top of the market, man, you see Bobby Wagner still sitting there, unclaimed. Again, we would love to have a Bobby Wagner in-house. I think he'd pair very well with Zaven Collins, but just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to pursue a veteran of that caliber. He's probably looking to be part of a contender, not really so much looking to be part of, a team that's chasing. We did win a playoff game a season ago where, thinking that we're going to get better this offseason. And, I just really don't think that our team is in a space that a player like Bobby Wagner would really consider coming. You got to think he already a longtime Seahawk, a Hall of Famer, played for the Rams for a season as well. Jumping ship now to that third divisional team, I just think is a little bit far-fetched. So, just taking a look around some more, maybe some more offensive line depth, potentially, throwing another offer at an interior lineman just to, in case that Danico Autry does get an offer and accepts before we're able to give a counter offer, but bringing in Fatukasi, bringing in Tim Settle, and bringing in Deshaun Hand, already all better players than what we had on the interior a season ago. So we like the direction that we've gone so far as improving that. Adrian Amos, also a veteran there that has yet. And there's Danico Autry. Sorry, that has yet to find a team. Danico Autry accepting. That's going to be one of the big fish of this class as well. Going to be the best player by a mile that we've had on the interior. Of course, it's only been a season's worth. But even still, very excited to have him in here. And, I do think that that's pretty much us done with our business as far as free agency is concerned. Still have plenty of cap space, but no need to burn it all at once. And I don't really like this. This is a bug. Austin Smith is the only player that I had on my favorites list. I kind of have something a little bit separate that I keep track of players on for things just like this. I just forgot to take his heart off. And, for some reason, the first player you favorite, they have you projected to take whenever your pick is. And currently projected to draft quarterback Joshua Garfield out of Texas. Again, his accuracies are very good. Now at his pro day ran a 4.46, very similar overall numbers to his combine. And that could be somebody that really, really, intrigues us as we continue this draft process. Of course, we have the number one pick, and you got a couple of guys, more slated towards the top of the draft. And, just very quickly, we do have Trevor Sidney. We've gone over him a few times, so we will go ahead and skip it this time around. But Garfield, again, someone that, might be able to boost his stock in our eyes. This coaching staff wants a mobile quarterback, preferably, especially considering the offense that they run, where the quarterback does, have some designed runs from time to time. And so, to see him pushing himself up the draft board a little bit, could be very, very intriguing for a team like the Cardinals, who have the number one pick, could decide to stick and pick, could decide to trade down, maybe get some more assets in the future. And, just taking a look at some of the guys left available, not a whole lot that we were thinking about at all. And we are going to go ahead and finish up with what we have. We think we boosted the interior of the line. We got some depth, maybe a potential starter in Cesar Ruiz, CJ Henderson. Got a potentially brand new duo for our special teams with Cameron Dicker coming in, still have Matt Prater, but then also Tommy Townsend at punter. And let's go ahead and take a look at the signings around the league. Tyron Smith and Stephon Gilmore, as well as Mike Williams, Bobby Wagner, going to different pastures. We do have Adrian Amos, Marcus May, Khalil Mack to the Rams. Man, that'll be an interesting one. Couple seasons after having Von Miller. Jordan Brooks to the Vikings, trying to build up a little bit around Kyler Murray, Patrick Queen, and Jeremy Chin to the Raiders. Sterling Shepard to the Texans. Jaron Kearse, of course, coming to us. Josie Jewell and Grant Delpit going to Philly. Could be a similar role to what we wanted Jaron Kearse in for Philly with Grant Delpit. Byron Jones back in the league now with the Panthers. Jordan Whitehead also joining the Vikings, and Kirk Cousins taking over for Matthew Stafford in L.A. Tyron Smith, I'm sorry, I did not say, because Mitch Morse I see also coming around on Washington. Tyron Smith jumping ship to the Washington Commanders. That one hurts as a Cowboys fan. IRL, man. Seeing if Tyron Smith ever jumped ship to a division rival, I'm not sure what I would do. Even in his advanced age, I would hope that he would just kind of call it a career. As the fifth mock draft, fifth and final, not a whole lot of movement here. Very similar to what it was in mock draft 4. We are still slated to take Joshua Garfield at number 19. Tight end Rudy Smith bumping up a little bit. Free safety Jay Boatwright jumping up 17 spots from a second rounder to a mid first rounder. Good on him. And man, very, very excited just to see kind of how this draft goes, a number of different ways that it could go. And taking a look at our private workouts, Joshua Garfield, he's been projected to us now the last 2 drafts, mock drafts. So we definitely want to go ahead and see what he's looking like, Definitely interested to see if he's, worth potentially looking at that number 1 pick. Right tackle Keegan Buchanan, we thought that we already know what kind of prospect he's going to be. We're just going to let him be. I think the ratings speak for themselves. The combine speaks for itself. The physicals speak for themselves. But also wanted to go ahead and get one on Juan Drummond, defensive tackle. Wanted to know a little bit more about him, and Andrew Stinson as well. Took a look at some other corners, but we thought Stinson with A, man coverage, B, press, B, zone. Thought it would be interesting to know kind of his full deal, just to kind of see, if that's kind of a direction that we wanted to go as far as a potential late first, maybe early to mid second rounder. So moving on, we are going ahead and finishing up with free agency. Now it's time to move on to the NFL draft. And man, oh man, am I excited for this one to kick off. We have the number 1 pick, which means, the draft kind of falls in our hands. And just a quick look at what we're working with again beforehand. Josh Dobbs, the number 1 quarterback as we currently sit. Rashad Bateman, Rondell Moore at receiver. Trey McBride at tight end. Ty Davis Price at running back. You see the offensive line. Froholt likely, even if we made no improvements, would not be a starter next year. We do have Natani Moody, as well as John Gaines, who I think does look a little bit better than Froholt at this point in time. Defensively, again, we already touched on the interior, but Danico Autry, Tim Settle, Folu Fatukasi, Deshaun Hand, all very much upgrades on the interior. CJ Henderson, a little bit of depth. Jaron Kearse, also in there as a potential linebacker, safety, slot corner, type of hybrid. And we already saw what that special teams duo was looking like with Cameron Dicker and Tommy Townsend coming in, and Matt Prater, the established vet in the room. So definitely, like I said, a lot to like, but a lot that definitely needs to be filled in as far as gaps offensively with the line, defensively with the interior line, as well as, a potential third corner, maybe even a second linebacker. We do like what Kaiser did for us in year one, but again, just a spot to definitely keep an eye on. And y'all, it is that time. It is time to go ahead and get into the NFL draft. And the Arizona Cardinals are on the clock. Again, lot of things you could do with this number one pick. Insane that they were able to parlay the Texans pick from a year ago into that number one pick. Texans definitely not going to get the number one pick in real life this year, but we will take a look at some of these draft packages. Tennessee offering the number 10 pick, a couple other firsts. Tampa Bay, number 9, number 41, and a first next season. Definitely something to consider. Had to do our due diligence and take a look at some of these offers. The Saints offering 3 firsts, including number 14 this year. 25 was a little too far down for us. The Rams, no interest in trading with a division rival. The Lions here were interesting. Didn't think they were offering enough to move up for the right to claim their guy. Similarly with the Giants, did like the first rounder in the future, but just didn't feel like that offered us enough value. The Falcons here, now that was intriguing. The Falcons have number 13 this year, and although that is a little rich for me, a first rounder and a second rounder next year with a first rounder in the following year, 2026 as well. But ultimately, we did go ahead and decide that we were going to make a selection here. And again, man, there's a lot of ways you could go right here. Kenny Sasser looks like the best quarterback in this draft. Strong arm guy, Washington, not going to provide the mobility, again, that Arizona is necessarily thinking about for their quarterback. But as far as polish goes, he's definitely the most pro ready, at least from a snapshot. And, that's one way they could decide to go in this draft. They could also decide to go quarterback Travis Garner. From their understanding, definitely not nearly as polished as Sasser, but, at just 21 years old and definitely more mobile, a lot of room to work with here. He could be a very intriguing prospect as well. A break sack, has a decently sturdy frame at 221. So that's a direction they could take. Keegan Buchanan looks like he might be the best player in this draft. 22 years old, out of Ohio State. Ran a really good 40 time. Didn't put up as many reps on the bench, 34, as we thought he might. But outside of his, power blocking in general, definitely don't see a whole lot of holes there. Man, and then, you got guys like James Hull. Pass rusher, again, not a need, so taking one at number 1 seems like it might be a little bit overzealous, but he looks like he could be a really good player. Had an okay combine, nothing to that, blew us out of the water, but A pursuit, A hit power, B block shed. And if I was a bet man, I'd say that one of those, rushing moves is going to be very, very good. Johnny Moses, 6'7", again, looks like he has a lot of decent traits. And it's definitely a decision, but we do think that the guy, and again, offensive line, maybe not our most pressing need, but it could be something just to think about with DJ Humphries potentially, leaving after a season. But, you could also look at a guy like Calvin McGee, round 1 to 2. We looked at Johnny Moses, Ramon Baxter. He's 6'7" as well. Again, decent speed, number 1 on the bench. But, you take a look at his finesse moves and it's a concern. His stamina, C to F, definitely not something that, you can overlook. You need your left tackle to be able to be out there and be effective as long as your offense is out there on the field. Mike Borden, 22 years old. He looks like he could be very, very good. That strength is not where you'd want it to be. Numbers definitely a little below some of these other guys in the class. And, why stick and pick at number 1 for him when you know he'd be available a little bit later? And this is the pick. This is the guy. Keegan Buchanan has looked like the number 1 guy throughout the entire draft process. And they are going to make him the newest Arizona Cardinal. He only has normal development. Now, that, I'll tell you, was not something that I thought was going to be possible, making him the number 1 overall pick. I thought for sure, at a bare minimum, it'd be star. I definitely was convinced that he was going to be a superstar development, but he's not. He ends up being normal only. Wide receiver Trent Durham goes number 2 to the Detroit Lions. Very, very high for what we considered his talent to be. And Kenny Sasser ends up in New York, possible successor to Daniel Jones, just a season after giving him a 4-year, $160 million contract. They draft a quarterback at number 3, and the Dolphins go defensive tackle Lucas McClendon, trying to clean up the interior of that offensive line. Already have a fantastic offense. It's going to be Travis Garner, the quarterback, going to the Raiders. Another team, after committing relatively big money, this one to Jimmy G, they're going to go with Garner, who was someone that Arizona was looking at. Dustin Thurston going to New England. Looks like they're trying to salvage what they can of Mac Jones, with him going now into year 4, trying to put some more pieces around him. Colts get pass rusher Mike Campbell out of Ohio State. Definitely a piece they could use. DeForest Buckner getting up there in age. Not a whole lot going on the edge. And Walt Massey, who was an early projection for number 1, going to the Broncos, with wide receiver George Carey joining the Tampa Bay Buccaneers out of Mississippi State. Again, not a whole lot of receivers really, intrigued us in this class, as James Hull, someone that looked really good, going to the Titans. Free safety Damian Allen to the Bears. Interesting pick with Budda Baker and Jaquan Brisker in town, as well as Eddie Jackson, who is getting up there in age. Peter Tompkins, receiver, going to the Rams. Interesting to see them take a safety so high in the draft. We're assuming they're going to probably try to extend Budda Baker after giving away Jalen Johnson, Chad Pritchett to the Falcons, and Nick Mitchell, man, going to the Saints, guard that we thought very, very highly of. You got Hooker here going to the Steelers, left tackle out of Florida State. Rival Seahawks taking George Huntley as center. Someone that we looked at, but, again, we drafted Buchanan number 1. Not really going to double dip right there. Johnny Moses, very good looking left tackle, going to Philly. And y'all, we are going to definitely take a look. Ramon Baxter, that's back-to-back left tackles now. We are going to, keep an eye on some of these prospects, just kind of see how their careers go, how their rookie seasons go. And again, at number 19, we are looking at some trade down options, picking up the phone a little bit. Nothing really catching our eye. Swapping of first round picks this year and next year. I think we'd rather go ahead and keep that first rounder if we were going to, not get one this year. And, as we take a look at the draft board, still some very good names on the board. You got the pass rusher out of LSU, Trevor Sidney. But it is going to be Andrew Stenson, the corner. As you saw, his true talent was top 5 in the draft. Someone that we looked very, very highly at. A-man coverage, B-press, B-zone, 6'1". He is a little bit older at 23, but, how many guys that are 21 are going to have his size-speed combination with the ability to get to the level that he already currently stands? We needed a third corner. Mukwamu was we like his size. We still like his ability as a depth corner, as Jeff Sutton goes to the Niners just one pick later. Now, 2 corners that are definitely going to be compared when talking about them down the line. Zach Hendricks, interior pass rusher to the Bears. Free safety Jeremiah Holmes to the Chargers. Rudy Smith holding up to that projection, going to the Chiefs, likely preparing for the post-Travis Kelce era. Trey Tutt to the Texans. Interesting. that they use that on an interior lineman. Sebastian Morales, pass rusher to the Commanders. Jay Boatwright going to the Bengals, again, as projected. Most of the board really fall into where it looked. But again, Stinson, we know he's going to be able to step in, start day one, and definitely an intriguing guy to keep an eye on in his rookie season, surrounded by Greedy Williams, who led the league in picks, along with Jalen Johnson, who, signed for 5 years. And wouldn't you know it, the Arizona Cardinals had a plan. It's Glenn Roberts out of LSU, 90 speed, 88 acceleration, 92 throw power. They were, supposedly setting out a bit of a smokescreen, letting Sasser and Garner both go in the top couple of picks. Josh Garfield looked like he wasn't really going to go anytime soon, and they noticed it. And instead, they stayed pat, and at number 27 overall, they decided to grab their guy, Glenn Roberts, someone that they know they're going to have to polish up a little bit. Trevor Sidney was another, consideration right there. But, you can't teach that speed, 90 speed, and with 92 throw power, a lot to work with. And at number 27 overall, Arizona gets who they hope can be their quarterback of the future, as Mike Borden, left tackle, goes to the Jets. Derek Youngblood to the Ravens. Packers grab Brian Lucas, a strong safety. Also interesting after the way Rudy Ford performed. Ron McKee going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And at number 32, the Arizona Cardinals decided to make a call. They wanted to go ahead and move up and be able to go ahead and grab that number 32 pick, the guy that they're looking at. We want the 5th-year option on him. Want to see if he's able to develop. Want to see if he is as good as the scouting team thinks he is. And the final deal of the first-round pick, number 32 overall, for a slew of picks, including their second-round pick, along with a third-rounder next year. And a few other mid to late round draft picks. And the guy that they moved up to select is Calvin McGee. 31 reps, looks really good. Injury, as we said before, does scare us a little bit. Could it be potentially a middle linebacker? Cam Wilhelm, Michael Smith both looked very good. But no, it's going to be Juan Drummond, defensive tackle, another normal development player. Again, not what they anticipated before they made the trade to go ahead and acquire the pick that became him. But again, A, power moves, B, block shedding. We think that, again, strength wasn't amazing, but we think that with those ratings that we're already privy to, we think that could be a very good pickup in the future as a run on running backs here in the first few picks, along with another corner. And Josh Garfield, the Dolphins, that is a very interesting one. Calvin McGee going to the Raiders. Are the Dolphins not really trusting Tua here? It could be something like, are they preparing for life post Tua? I mean, why else, as Trevor Sidney goes to the Bucs, why else would you draft a quarterback so high in the second round? It could be a Jalen Hurts, Carson Wentz situation. Of course, we saw how that played out. Noah Gilmore going to the Bears. Michael Smith to the Rams. Again, of course, we saw how that played out in Philadelphia, and Jalen Hurts now has become one of the premier, quarterbacks in the league. I don't think he's necessarily top 3, 4, 5 the way that a lot of folks have tried to say, but he's definitely a very, very good quarterback, someone that you definitely want to have on your team on Sundays. And speaking of, they're going to go ahead and take left guard Zach Campbell, a possible replacement for Jason Kelce, and Austin Smith, the 6'8 target out of LSU, someone that Arizona was targeting, gonna go to the Bills with Jalen Ford, this 6'6 target, 6'8 was the one for the Bills, 6'6 to the 49ers, Jalen Ford, and that's 2 LSU pass catchers off the board in the second round. Of course, Arizona trading their second round pick in order to get the pick that became Juan Drummond. Now, it wouldn't have mattered. They went off the board before Arizona would have picked anyway at 27, Cam Malachi to the Ravens. And just a couple picks away now from Arizona being back on the clock, Jacksonville going to go after left guard Brandon Hankins, and the Cowboys going to end off the second round with strong safety Terrell Fitzsimmons. And Arizona now back on the clock. Interested to see the way that they'll go ahead and take this. You see a few guys there still at the top of the board that, didn't go necessarily within their projection. Amani Hunter, very, very much not looking like someone that's going to be a very good option. Andrew Thompson, just a fast guy, not really any depth to him as far as being a receiver. And as they take a look around, they're going to look at center Joe Solano, who had a decent combine. The run blocking all across the board, really scary. And at center, that's something you want your, center to be able to hold up in is, being able to open up holes for your running game, even if his pass blocking ratings do look relatively decent. And, just taking a look around the board, seeing which direction we want to go ahead and take this. And, after missing out on Michael Smith, a very high possibility they could look to linebacker, could even look to double dip at corner again. Manny Peterson at strong safety looked decent, but when we saw that D zone coverage, just knew it wasn't going to really be the direction we wanted to go. And they are going to take another look at Cam Wilhelm. Again, very light, only 226 pounds, but ran a 4.44 at his pro day. Not very strong, but again, a man, a catching, likely a zone if we're talking about those ratings collectively. Another normal development player, just 68 strength, but 88 speed and acceleration. That play recognition, something we're going to have to keep an eye on at just a D. But also 80 change of direction. This is going to be a rangy sideline to sideline type of guy, but we're going to definitely have to work on his ability to, kind of diagnose what the offense is doing, when you keep in mind that D play recognition, not going to be something to take lightly. Might be, more of a developmental guy, but we'll kind of see what type of role he's going to go ahead and have in year one with the Arizona Cardinals, as they are back on the clock, pick number 10. And again, Amani Hunter's still there. Ben Silverman at tight end. Again, only Elijah Higgins and McBride. McBride's going nowhere as far as being the top guy on this tight end depth chart. But, Higgins could be improved upon. We like his speed. He does have 90 speed. And, we saw that he was reliable in picking up critical first downs when the time called for it. Also had a huge touchdown against, was it Minnesota? I believe it was Minnesota in that wild card round, picking up a Ty Davis Price fumble. Looking maybe at some running backs as well, like what Ty Davis Price did. He's going to be going into year 3 now and, not too far away from looking for a contract. And, if there's somebody that we think can replace his production, I don't see why, we wouldn't at least do our due diligence. Again, none of these receivers really stood out. No one that we felt like was worth using this pick on. The offensive line, very skim pickings as well, all things considered. Dalton Murray here on day 3 looked pretty good. His combine was actually fantastic. But a few troubling ratings there, which, you're bound to have with any third round pick, very, very rare past I suppose maybe past the third round, but I'd say historically probably past the second round as far as, expecting a guy to be a contributor, pretty much at any point beyond just a role player. And taking a look around a little bit more, not a whole lot standing out. So they are going to go back into the interior offensive line and take a look at Dalton Murray. Again, his combine really, really stood out. Although The run block power is a bit concerning. The pass blocking is phenomenal. No, we said that about someone dinged him, Joe Solano, earlier on, but with him off the board, they're going to go ahead and take Dalton Murray, and he is going to be a hidden development talent, someone that can step in, potentially, hopefully be an immediate upgrade at the center position. Holt and Elijah Wilkinson. Wilkinson no longer with the team. Really just didn't get it done. We're going to go ahead and speed up the rest of this draft now. We were in round 3, went pick by pick for the most part. We're going to be back on the clock now. 27th pick in round 4, and Amani Hunter still on the board. That is a surprising one. As they're going to take a look around, quarterback, something they looked at. Running back, again, something they could consider. Tariq Cohen, the only other, well, I guess no, not now with Antonio Gibson in tow. But Gibson not on a long contract. And, if you can have a guy to kind of groom behind him and Davis Price to either take over as the backup, maybe even the starter at some point, definitely not a bad thing to consider. As we're going to take a look at Darrell Hobbs. Now, Hobbs looks very, very good. A little on the smaller side, but, powerful. Over 200 pounds, over 220 pounds, as a matter of fact. And that's a very interesting build for a running back. Ran a 4.42 as well. Strength is marginal. Not going to be a guy that's going to truck through anyone with C-juke move, C-spin move. Also not a guy that's super elusive currently. But, that could be a potential skill set they could build around. And it looks like they're going to look back at him, and they are going to take Darrell Hobbs in the 4th round. 90 speed, 91 acceleration. Again, a skill set you can work with. Looks very similar to maybe what Ty Davis Price did when he came over, and we see what he's become now. So definitely not something to sleep on. And now Arizona not going to pick again till the 7th round. A lot of draft capital at the top of the draft and into the early day too. So, only right that they kind of not able to pick in those middle rounds as much. And in the 7th round, they are going to decide to stick and pick. Not really much capital that we can expect to get for the 27th pick in the 7th round. And Amani Hunter, I thought about for a second. I thought he might be interesting, especially projected round 1 to 2 talent who drops to the 7th round. But we ultimately decided on Riley O'Brien. O'Brien didn't look amazing, but 6'3", 22 years old. Thought he might be a little better than 82 speed. Of course, didn't expect anything other than normal development. A lot of F's in there, as you see. But again, 7th round pick. Why not take a flyer? Not going to be a huge deal. And we're just going to go ahead and skip to the end of this draft. And that is going to do it for our first draft in this series. A lot of exciting picks. Excited to see what these guys look like. Here we go. And we see off the bat, decent overall class. A lot of, mid to high 70s. But Keegan Buchanan, who we took number 1 overall, just a 75. And look at that run block power, atrocious. The pass block not in a great space. Even the strength, which we expected to be in the mid to high 90s, only an 89. Of course, hasn't played a snap yet, so you can't really judge him too harshly yet. But definitely doesn't look like the player we expected. But Andrew Stinson, 78 overall. Hidden development, and he looks amazing. 82 man coverage, 75 press, 78 zone. The tackle's not great, but 70 catching is very, very good. 84 jumping, also not great, but we like what we have in him. Think that that's a very, very solid pick there. But Keegan Buchanan does have the day 1 starter, and Glenn Roberts, here he is, the possible quarterback of the future at a 72 overall. And we really like this pick. 92 throw power. We already knew the accuracies. Not in an amazing space. 80 short, 78 medium, 74 deep. But with 90 speed, 80 break sack, 81 throw on the run, even 77 throw under pressure. Lot to like. Only 21 years old. Quarterback of the future tag. Future starter tag. And we're very, very excited to see what he might be able to do. I think Juan Drummond is probably, even though Buchanan's only a 75, I think Drummond's a little more disappointing from a rating standpoint. 88 strength is very, very good. More than what I expected from him. 81 finesse, 73 block shed. Definitely thought that his block shedding would be higher considering that it was a B. Now, I know it's in relation to the rest of the class, but, we'll see what he can do. He should still have a pretty regular role on this defense from day one. Cam Wilhelm, worst case scenario, the block shedding, not in a good space in any capacity, just 63, but very, very good speed. The zone coverage is in a workable spot. And the hit power is not too bad either. Future starter. He might be someone that could take over for Kaiser White, maybe this time next year, maybe 2 years from now. Who knows? Just kind of depends on his development. Dalton Murray, run blocking, as we suspected, not going to be good, pretty much at all. But his pass blocking, as a third rounder, definitely not something you can be mad at. Day one starter tag, and he likely will be. Holt, definitely not in a position to challenge him for that spot. Darrell Hobbs, 64 trucking, didn't expect him to really be that kind of guy at 5'8". 84 juke move is workable. 89 agility as well. The change of direction, not great, but, we think that he, could, again, he's going to be a third, maybe even fourth running back to open up his career. So not really something you got to worry about. Riley O'Brien, not good. Don't really have to say too much. Not as fast as we thought. Pretty bad. And unlikely to have a role with this team in year one or pretty much ever. But let's take a look in division and see what some of these guys look like. Of course, we know our corner that we took in round one was a 78 overall. Jeff Sutton, who went one pick later, a 74 overall. Hidden development as well. Not quite as fast. Zone coverage still in a very good spot along with the press, but the man coverage not even comparable. Does have the day one starter tag, and he should look to get plenty of run to open things up. Jalen Ford, that 6'6" big target out of LSU in the second round. He looks like a taller Brian Edwards. That's really what he looks like. Of course, only 22. The Edwards now 25. So a lot more room to develop, but, doesn't look like someone that we think we missed out on by any means. And no one else really of note worth talking about. Peter Tompkins, who the Rams took with their first pick, first round pick. Looks fine. 90 speed. Again, doesn't look amazing, game breaking by any means. Should be solid 12th overall pick, but nothing crazy. But Michael Smith, who, if they could have, they would have swapped these selections. Michael Smith, very good speed, block shedding in a very, very good spot. Definitely going to have to work on his coverage skills. 67 zone does not inspire a whole lot of confidence, but it is in a workable spot. And Frank Ware, someone that we considered taking in the third round, ultimately, of course, decided against it, taking Wilhelm and Dalton Murray. But, he has decent speed, trucking's in an okay spot, and has a bit of agility to him as well. And then Kirk Lauderdale here, 71 overall, another big target, and we see what kind of guys they're leaning towards. 90 agility for his size is insane, but very, very good draft, I feel like, for them overall. For Seattle, center George Huntley, 21 years old, 6'5", and, definitely a lot to work with. 89 strength, definitely want to get that up a little bit, but his finesse blocking, not amazing. Not something that they overly have to worry about, though, as I'm sure they'll be able to do plenty after getting their bookends in Charles Cross and Abraham Lucas, both in the same draft. Kevin Mills, tight end, looks good, but they do have Noah Fant, so that's a pretty surprising pick unless they're, thinking about moving on from him. Outside linebacker John Bishop. Now, this is going to be more of a run-stopping guy. Very good tackling, very good speed. Block shedding is in a good spot, but not a coverage guy by any means. Definitely going to be something to keep an eye on. And center Rod Wilkins in the fourth round. Hidden development along with, the guy we took in Dalton Murray. And, He might even be a little bit better. The strength not in the same kind of space, but same weaknesses in the run game, same strengths in the pass game, and maybe even a little bit better. As we take a look at the draft as a whole, and Kenny Sasser, who we passed on with the first overall pick, just a 73 overall, 97 throw power, though. He has a cannon. Not gonna do a whole lot with his legs, just 74 speed, nothing too crazy there. And Travis Garner, another guy that we kind of missed out on with the number 1 pick, 72 overall, same as Roberts, slightly stronger arm at 94 throw power. Again, not as fast. Roberts is a 92, Garner's 81. Quarterback of the future tag, may end up sitting a season or two behind Jimmy G. And we see that the Lions, he does have hidden development, but this may be a tremendous reach when it's all said and done, although he does have 99 speed and 98 acceleration. I suppose they're hoping that they're looking at the next Tyreek Hill. Pairing him up with Jamison Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown may prove to pay dividends. That is a whole lot of speed going on with that Lions offense now, and that's a very, very intriguing addition, even if he is maybe a little maybe if he was even a little overdrafted, rather, as you see Washington completely whiffing in the first round. Sebastian Morales, fast, but not much else. Wow, only a 65 overall. I mean, he did look like he had some traits that could be workable. 69 finesse moves, with that speed, you might be able to kind of coax something out of him there, but definitely not what you're looking for in your first round pick. As we see Joshua Garfield ends up being a 70 overall scrambler archetype, as we assumed, with that 4.44 speed, 89 throw power, 91 speed, just a little faster than Roberts. And I think that we're happy with the guy that we took. Play action's in a little bit of a better space, but his break sack's not nearly as good, and his accuracies are about comparable. I think we like our guy. Calvin McGee was another guy that we were very much thinking about with that 27th pick, with maybe trading back up for Roberts. He ends up with 87 strength. Do think that he looks a tad better than Keegan Buchanan, at least, off initial ratings, but only time will tell how they'll develop. And it looks like Jacksonville gets the number 1 overall player, Ron McKee, a fellow cornerback. Of course, we took someone different. He's a 79 overall and very comparable stats across the board, but he's 3 ratings faster at 94 speed. Very, very good pick for them, Ron McKee. Of course, just maybe a little better than our guy, Andrew Stimson. Dalvin Cage, who shockingly was drafted by the Giants in round 2, 78 overall, second best player in this draft. And, of course, we saw Michael Smith, Shelton Walker, run-stopping linebacker out of Oklahoma. Going to have good speed to him, block sheds in a very, very good space. But similarly to a lot of these run-stopping archetypes that you see in these drafts, his coverage skills are atrocious. So definitely interested to see kind of how they'll use him. As we take a look even further down the board, and we see a 5th-round receiver at a 76 overall, Mike Taylor, 5'10", 22 years old, out of Oregon. And look at that short route running. This should be a guy who could contribute in the slot immediately. Day 1 starter tag. How about that pickup there from the Cleveland Browns? And, man, Andrew Stinson, though, I do like the pick, although Ron McKee, if we could go back, we may have taken him. I like Stinson. I think that he's going to offer us a lot. Of course, McKee was drafted a little bit later, so they do have the advantage there. But overall, I do think that I'm satisfied with what we were able to get done. And Trevor Sidney was someone, like I said, we thought about drafting, and I do not think we missed out. 76 power moves, 69 block shed, not what we were thinking he was going to have. And I think that taking Juan Drummond when we traded up is going to end up paying much better dividends than what Sydney would have, as we are done and dusted with the off season. Next episode, we are back with some preseason action, and we're going to start off with the Buffalo Bills. Now, for this preseason, I know year one, we kind of went through and played a lot of every single game. We actually played every single game. I am going to probably lean more towards the moments in this preseason. I don't think there's a whole lot of battles that we are going to have happening realistically. I think, a lot of the guys that we think are going to contribute are going to end up getting those roles. But we will have a bit of action, a little training camp action, talk a little bit about the roster, and just kind of see what this team's going to look like in year two. Thank y'all for tuning in. I really appreciate it as always. Be sure to like and subscribe if you feel so inclined. Have a good one, and peace.